I'd like to call the meeting to order. I got to read something. Pursuant to State Law 54953B, Councilmember Chris Carolla will attend the meeting via phone from 211 East 4th Street, 3G02, entrance apartment 310, North Little Rock, Arkansas. The meeting agenda will be posted in this location, which is open to the public more than 24 hours before the meeting. Any interested member of the public may join Councilmember Chris Carolla at the location for this meeting. Would everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Put your hand over your heart. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is Chris on? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't hear you say anything. Georgie, would you take a roll call, please?
Councilmember Carolla.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Villaseñor.
Here.
Mayor Austin.
Here.
Councilmember Broggie.
Here.
Councilmember Mendez.
Here. Okay, we're going to move on to approval of the agenda. Do we have any?
Mayor, I have one question before I submit a motion to approve.
Okay.
And it's a question to staff regarding a check amount of a little over $300,000 to the city of Oxnard for a grant, ECG. And I believe that might be a pass-through where we received the grant. I think it might be fire department related, and then maybe the remainder goes on to Oxnard. But I just wanted to be curious on that one. I don't know if anyone had any details.
We'll get you the specific details on it, but yes, that is for.
That's what it's for.
For one of the FEMA grants that came through.
Okay.
We all got together, I think about 8 cities.
Okay.
Got together, we were the sponsor, came through us, and goes out to Oxnard.
Okay, I appreciate that. I said, why again are we the $300,000 to the city of Oxnard? So that makes sense. So we kept a little bit of it. We were the ones who I think proposed, did the grant writing, got the money, and then we distributed out. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. With that, I do move to approve the agenda.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion. I have a second. Georgie, can you do a roll call, please?
Councilmember Carolla.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Villaseñor.
Yes.
Mayor Austin.
Yes.
Councilmember Broggie.
Yes.
Councilmember Mendez.
Yes.
Okay, we're moving on to item number 5A, VCTC, Transit Integration and Efficiency Study. Claire Grasity, Director of Public Transit.
Good afternoon. I probably should have checked if the presentation was here, but I can always do it without it. So I think I don't see it up here. So in that case, I'll just go off my notes. Okay, so I'm Claire Grasty, the Director of Public Transit for the Ventura County Transportation Commission. Tonight, I will be going over our transit integration and efficiency study. So sorry again, that's my fault that I didn't check beforehand, but I'm giving this presentation to all of the cities throughout the county regarding this study that we are doing. So a little bit about our TIES study, as we call it. It was commissioned by the Commission in 2020 as a result of the pandemic. We had seen waning ridership prior to the pandemic, but also, oh, I see it right here. Okay. No, I'm sorry about that. That was my fault. Okay, so here we go. All right. Also, of course, the pandemic had a significant impact on transit. It also underscored race and equity issues nationwide, but as well as clearly demonstrated the need for essential workers to still get to their jobs. It also, since then, we've seen even more challenges, including inflation, fewer contractor bids, and increased congestion. A little bit of background. We conducted a similar study that was concluded in 2012. Since then, there were some changes that have happened. Gold Coast Transit became a district. The East County Transit Alliance in the East County was formed. It's a kind of more of a collaborative effort that provides now inter-county dial-a-ride service. The Heritage Valley, as you all are a part of, was implemented. Heritage Valley Express service was implemented. So since we started this study in 2021, we've looked at data for all operators throughout the county. We've held now more than 6 operator working group sessions. We've interviewed commissioners, interviewed city staff and city managers. We have also collaborated with our coordinated services plan, which had some significant outreach and included those strategies into our plan. And then we've did a couple focus group sessions. So what we're really trying to answer is, can integration improve the transit rider experience in Ventura County? So really some of the main issues that we face in Ventura County is that we have 9 different transit operators. And as such, there can be really good local service serving the communities, but not great regional service. So, over time we see more regional need for transit trips or trips in general, not just for commute trips, but medical trips and other seeing family, all those types of trips. Regional trips have only increased over time. In addition to that, we have some other issues that we've seen increased expenses. I've mentioned less competitive bids, especially when you're competing against each other, and that can also lead into driver retention when you're competing against other operators for drivers and other employees. And then over time, priorities change among the agencies and can be different from agency to agency. With so many different operators, there's wide variation in policies and fares and programs and information that you're able to find. So again, this can be good for local service, but can be difficult for regional travel. So we've looked at communication, coordination, collaboration, consolidation, and really are leading towards collaboration. So some strategies and actions that have been recommended from this plan is to improve financial resilience by coordinating administrative functions, centralizing demand response call taking and scheduling, so for paratransit systems, aligning policies, fares, and standardizing surveying, marketing, and online public-facing presence. I'll now go over the alternatives that have come out of this. So our approaches, we have 3 scenarios that range from mostly collaborative, partial consolidation to full consolidation. Of course, other variations are possible, but this is, we're developed to provide a framework for the stakeholders to respond to and adapt moving forward. So alternative 1 is a sub-regional consolidation of demand response service, but increased formalized interagency coordination. So it's really more about coordination as opposed to consolidating much of anything other than some demand response areas. So fixed route service planning, procurements, things of that nature, policies, and again, marketing and surveying. Alternative 2 is the one that's kind of a hybrid of both. It would create a countywide demand response agency. So all paratransit would be in one area. So that means if you're trying to go from here to Oxnard or to Camarillo to Moore Park, you would only have to take one paratransit vehicle as opposed to the 2 or 3 you would have to now. So they could be housed within another agency or it could be a new separate agency. It also looks at consolidating the fixed route into 2 separate agencies. So Gold Coast, Ojai, the Valley Express, so your service here, as well as the VCTC intercity service, and then the East County would be Thousand Oaks, the Canaan Shuttle, Moore Park, Simi Valley, and Camarillo. These would help kind of allow there to be more focus on just transit as opposed to the many different hats that, you know, the municipal operators have to work with, and it'd simplify a lot of things. VCTC would continue to be the Regional Transportation Planning Authority, and we would transfer our bus operations to Gold Coast. Alternative 3 is really just full consolidation, all agencies into one agency. It assumes Gold Coast Transit, as they are legislatively able to do that. Doesn't have to be Gold Coast, but for the purposes of the study, it was assumed to be, since there would be no legislation that would need to take place in order to do this. The board structure would need to adapt to account for all entities. All of the operating bases that remain would still need to remain, since our county is so large. And then again, we would remain as the RTPA. So a little bit of a comparison. I know that chart is small. Alternative 1 is really an action plan and requires voluntary commitments from all of our partners. Alternative 2 balances that risk by using existing partnerships that will allow some sub-regional change. Alternative 3 is the most ambitious, has the greatest opportunity for change, but also the most difficult to execute. A little bit more, alternative 1 has the lowest cost benefit ratio, but also protects streets and roads money for the cities that use that now. Alternative 2 is can be more expensive if there end up being 3 different agencies, and it will take some time to realize those cost benefits. But alternative 3, as I mentioned, has the highest potential for improvements, both from a cost perspective and from a rider perspective, but negative impact for all those cities that are losing money, streets and roads money. So this is really a roadmap to the future. We've kind of defined the issues, and these, you know, even if we were to decide the alternative with 3 is the most desirable, we'd really need to kind of work from an incremental approach through these alternatives. And so at this point, alternative 1 is the most agreed upon. I think there's some support certainly for alternative 2. I would say alternative 3 is probably has the most concerns overall. Some concerns we've heard related, of course, to funding. There are some concerns that we don't have enough information to guarantee that those kinds of cost efficiencies would look like. Of course, the concerns of losing money that is dedicated to streets and roads right now for agencies that are using it. But the increased TDA funds that would go to transit, of course, would support better transit service. And then just uncertainty about the expenses long term. A number of other comments we've received is that, with these kind of small transit services, they're able to respond easily and well to the community's needs. And there is concern that it would be harder for a bigger agency to do that. It's assumed that this bigger agency would, of course, maintain the existing services that are those types of special services, like the dial-a-ride service here, Moore Parks Microtransit, the Ojai Trolley. Assume all of those would remain. We've heard a lot of, do no harm. We don't want to see our service to be reduced. And this, just to clarify, this study does not look at doing any of that. Maybe service would be redistributed within cities, so you would have maybe the same amount of service hours, but operated differently, but no less service than currently exists. So I think I covered all that. So our next steps is to we're soliciting public input, presenting, of course, to agencies. We'll be soon working on a short-range transit plan. It'll include all of these strategies from the ties into more of an implementation plan for the future. So we also have yet to work with really deeply with represented groups. And this is even more important for the latter alternatives. We want to begin working on low-hanging fruit options that all of the operators agree upon. And then we also have to begin working on working groups with finance in particular, but operations working groups as well. And then as well as legal counsel to proceed based on the adopted alternative. That's the end of my presentation. Happy to take any questions if that's permissible.
Any questions?
I do, yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your presentation. Appreciate it, lots of great information there. I was wondering on alternative 2, which was sort of like a little bit of the hybrid, and it would sort of help with paratransit in terms of not having to switch to maybe 2, 3 or more. Were TDA funds part of that alternative as well? I know it was mentioned in alternative 3, which was like everyone into Gold Coast, but.
Yeah, well, in this case, if you're going into Gold Coast, then it is assumed that you would have to give up those streets and roads funds. So in this case of Fillmore and Santa Paula, then yes. In the case of the East County, if they form a JPA and they elect not to do that, that would, it really be up to how the formation of their agency. But if any agency goes into Gold Coast, this could be a consideration. Camarillo could conceivably go to Gold Coast if they preferred. In that case as well, they would have to likely give up their streets and roads funding. But there's could be negotiation that would happen over time, or things along those nature. But their bylaws do require it.
Okay, and that's for alternative 2 as well?
Yes.
Okay, alternative 1, not TDA funds, everyone just sort of stays with theirs. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Any other questions? Great, thank you.
Thank you so much for
Thank
having
you.
me.
We're going to open the public hearing, or we're going to go to public comments. We have a 3-minute time limit. When it hits 30 seconds, the yellow light will come on, and when it's red, your time's up. Chris, do you have any public speakers out in Arkansas?
No.
I'm hoping we at least get one sometime.
We'll see.
And with that, I'm going to call up. I can't read the writing because it's so small. I got the Maria, Ruby, and Gabriel. You guys wrote really teeny.
Hello, my name's Maria Robles, and I'm gonna be reading a letter that the youth center at the One Step wrote. And we were in the letter it says, we represent the youth of Fillmore and Pirate communities from the ages 13 to 19, and we are concerned about the community's lack of affordable housing. We thank you for reviewing our previous letters that we had submitted to the Fillmore housing element, in which we asked for additional supporting housing, mixed residential use, and tiny homes to be included. It was recently brought to our attention that a developer is trying to build a project named Fillmore Terrace on the empty lot across the transit center on Palm Street and Santa Clara Street. We met with the developer and talked about the project. We asked questions and looked at the project's designs to see how it would benefit Fillmore. For example, the property is designed to have all electric energy efficient appliances and solar panels. We understand that if the project were to move forward, one residential home would need to relocate, but this would give 50 affordable housing units with AMIs set at 30%, 50%, and 60%. However, therefore, we support accepting the Fillmore Terrace proposal and encourage the city to allow it. Please get in touch with us through either of the adults listed below if you have any questions. Sincerely, One Step Youth Teen members.
Great, thank you.
We believe that there's so many housings that have so many teens and family members that they need a new place to live at.
Hello, my name is Ruby Cardoza, and I think that we should have more safe houses for the people who are living on the streets.
Hello, my name is Gabriel Cardoza, and I would like to ask for new housing, especially for 18-year-olds like me, because soon I'll be getting kicked out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Christina Ramos.
Hi, my name is Christina Ramos. I am a resident at Mountain View Apartments. As you all know, Mountain View is a low-income housing apartment complex here in our beautiful town of Fillmore. There is 77 units in our complex. We have community amenities that include a manager services office, a community room, 2 playgrounds, outdoor activity area, on-site laundry, community gardens, a picnic barbecue area, garage parking, and guest parking. I still remember when the complex wasn't even built yet. At that time, I was renting a garage. I was living paycheck to paycheck. It was a very challenging time for me as a single mother, working extra hours and still being short on money to make ends meet. Things have changed. I strongly believe God's timing is perfect, and I thank Many Mansions and the Area Housing Authority, the City of Fillmore, and everyone that made it possible for giving me and my family the stability to excel and go forward to do great things. We live a less stressful life and could spend family time together more often. Our family has improved for the better. We have a stable environment. I'm forever grateful for this project to become a reality, and I'm sure a lot of Fillmore residents have improved their quality of life as well. Thank you, City of Fillmore, for improving the quality of community life and supporting family like ours. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Gabrielle Figanon.
Hello, and thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Gabrielle Vignon, and I'm here with House Farm Workers. In advance of this meeting, I did email in this letter that I'm going to read, and I just want to thank you all for always taking a look at all of the letters that I send in by email. On behalf of House Farm Workers, we are requesting that the city expedite the completion of the revisions to the 2021 through 29 housing element in response to the February 17, 2023 comment letter from HCD, the State Department of Housing and Community Development. We are concerned that there appears to be little progress on the draft HE, and without a final draft HE that is certified and compliant, neither the city or affordable housing developers are eligible for at least 6 different sources of funding. The Fillmore Terrace project is proposed by People Self-Help Housing, and it's an example of quality affordable housing that the city needs. It will offer 50 units towards fulfilling the city's obligation to meet mandatory goals for RHNA, the State Regional Housing Number Allocation. We believe it would be strategic for the city to provide a timely review for People Self-Help Housing and their application for Fillmore Terrace permits. We appreciate a response to our inquiry about the schedule of the next steps to revise the housing element and submit it to HCD. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Leticia Ramirez.
Hello. Okay. I am here to speak about the front window display at the Estrella Market on Central. Okay. City council members, city management, and staff. My name is Leticia Ramirez, co-owner of Estrella Market. I am here today to share my frustration about the way that our store has been told to display our products on the windows facing Central Market, or Central Avenue. Initially, we received permits for a signage that allowed customers to know what products we are sold at our store. It says produce, meat, groceries on the sign. It was an understanding that this was fine with the city. The company that did the work were the ones that got the permits from the city. Actually, I have the permits right here. Okay, so I don't know if I can have them. I made a copy for each one of you, okay? After a few weeks, though, we tinted the windows due to the sun directly hitting this area. After that, we received a notice from the city that we were not in compliance with the sign and that we had to remove it. Shortly after that, we received a legal notice from a legal letter from the law firm from Irvine, California, stating that we now had a deadline to comply with the city's request in order to try to clarify what was actually being requested by the city. Kevin McSweeney was invited to come to the store to let us know what had to be done to be in compliance. Mr. McSweeney informed us that we would now need to get an architect to draw up plans for what needed to be done. This was very confusing since until the tinting of the windows, we thought that we were following the original permits. An architect was recommended by Mr. McSweeney, sorry. He was invited and came to the store, and the plan that he suggested was to move the shelves 3 feet back from the windows. Our shelves are right behind the windows. If this suggestion was done, the store would have to comply, redo the way our customers pay, as this plan would take away our register area. In addition, this plan would take us out of compliance with the way our customers entered the store. We could not do this. At this point, we had to figure out how to solve this problem. We were told that the Central Market had complied with the same request. This information was given to the architect. We suggested to him to go to see what they had done, but he refused to. Since then, we went to go see, we saw their shelves.
Leticia, I'm going to defer I think somebody gave you their time. Okay. So I'm going to put another 3 minutes on.
Okay, so we went to see what they had done to their shelf. Their shelves were up against the window. They had actual product showing out to Central Market for customer to see. The shelves were not set back 3 feet from the distance of the window. The owner shared with us that they did not use an architect and that the plans they submitted were accepted. We have called several architects, but none of them have accepted our request to do this work. Now we have received a final legal notice that this work must be done by the end of May. Since we now know what has been accepted as Central Market, we would like to follow this precedent and complete the work requested by the city. But we need more. We need an extension to do this. Also, this is very confusing since the city originally gave us a permit for a 50%, 50 square feet frosted adhesive window vinyl application. So if we haven't tinted the windows, would we be in this predicament? That was one thing I was talking about. The other thing, okay, so I also want to speak about the downtown beautification grant. Okay, we were made aware that the downtown grant is about to expire in July. We have submitted the initial application since the original time when we were aware of it. After that, we submitted it. Then we received another packet with more requests. We submitted that, and we still don't have an approval. Me and my sister, Tanya, the other co-owner, we took it upon ourselves to walk on the Central Market businesses to ask them if they were aware of the grant or if they had already submitted it. A lot of them didn't even know that there was a grant available, and some of them have submitted, and they're running into the same issues that we are. Submit a packet, and then they're asking for more, and we're asking for more things. Let's see, we're also running into the same issues. We feel that the city has not been supportive for this grant so that we can take advantage of it. I mean, this is $12,000, $12,500 that this would help to verify some of the storefronts. So I mean, if this grant expires, what's going to happen to those funds? We would really like the support of the city so that we can do this, and use the funds in this manner. We have the Fondita, they are our neighbors. I was speaking to them as well. This is the third packet that they already submit asking for more.
Could you please
More
wrap up?
information. Okay?
Great,
Thank you very much. Thank you for listening. Oh,
Next speaker is Sean McCauley.
Hello, council and city staff. I just wanted to give you an update on downtown rehab grant program. As you know, I own the Fillmore Town Theater, but I'm also the president of the Fillmore Association of Businesses. So I have been in contact with several of the businesses on Central Avenue to get things done. In my own case, the work that is being done on the two stores that are next to the theater, 338 and 336, we're actually getting the glass blocks over each store actually installed on Saturday. That was a 6-month process. That process started in January. It didn't have anything to do with the city. When I submitted plans to the city, I think we got approval within a couple of weeks or so. It had more to do with contractors, and contractors not being available, contractors not having time, contractors being backed up with projects. Some of the other business owners are sort of running into the same thing. Tomorrow morning from 9 to 11, I have a contractor coming out to meet with businesses who are still interested in the downtown rehab grant program to actually get estimates and get things in. I understand that there's a possibility that the funds may evaporate at some point. I know that's going to happen, eventually, but when I was told that the date may move up to July, that's when I started calling everybody. It's like, hey, you really need to get this stuff in here or you're not going to get the money. I also understand there may be a possibility that the funding can be extended, but I also know the city would like to use funds elsewhere if nobody's going to take the money, kind of thing. So I just wanted to let you know my own story. We are doing a thing tomorrow. Robert Dedlow is actually going to be in town for his 4 stores. Ron Stewart on his 4 stores is going to be present, and a few other people, and we'll be walking up and down and getting the estimates. It's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, as long as we're in process, they can still get the funding, or is it a matter of being approved and they still get the funding?
In terms of
the money evaporating.
Right. Yeah, no, the money is not evaporated. We're going to come back in July, August timeframe to give an update on all the ARPA funds.
Okay.
And that's going to be one of the items on the list. And if, right now we've had a few people apply, and if they're already in the pipeline, we'll make sure the funding is there for them.
Okay.
But we'll ask City Council, do you want to keep the funding going, or do you want to reallocate to something else? Since we're getting a lot of activity on it. Kind of how we talked about that at our meeting. So it's not going to end in July. It's going to come back and have a conversation where we're at, how much money's left in it. Do you want to continue with the program? Do you want to extend it a little further? Those are the questions will come back with all the ARPA funding and all the projects that we're currently doing.
Okay, I just want a clarification of that, because I'm set, I'm taken care of, but then there's these other businesses that need to oh, my time went up, need to be taken care of. So thank you very much.
Next speaker is Lynn Edmonds.
Good evening, everyone. As you know, my name is Lynn Edmonds, and I live at 248 4th Street, and I'm speaking about low-income housing. Those of us who live in a house, think about your house. And if you're upset, do you have a place that's quiet where you can go and regroup? Do you have a place to sleep every single night, that you're not crowded with 5 or 6 other people? Do you have a kitchen that isn't crowded with 3 or 4 other families trying to get into the kitchen? Do you live in one room with just a sink and a toilet, and then one garage that's put on has that, and you have 5 children and an adult and the husband? And these are situations right now that are happening in Fillmore. When we did the mini mansions, there were 1,800 that qualified. They could only choose 70 plus. Of the 1,800, 1,000 were from Fillmore. 1,000. If you expedite this, if you don't deal with tiny little things that can be fixed later, if you just move it ahead so they can get started, then 55 families will be able to have a place to live, and won't have to share a hose from the house in front of them. I went to a house yesterday that the kids had to get a shower from the house in front of them because they couldn't use the restroom. So please, please, think ahead and move ahead. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Susan Johnson.
Good evening, Mayor Austin, City Council. I'm Susan Johnson. I live at 354 2nd Street here in Fillmore. I am the city's representative to the Ventura County Area Housing Authority. I chair the Affordable Housing Task Force. I'm the chair of the board of the One Step Olives, and I'm also your former agricultural commissioner. I'd like to speak on behalf of the Fillmore Piru Affordable Housing Task Force. We support and urge approval of the housing project Fillmore Terrace being proposed by People's Self-Help Housing. The Fillmore Housing Task Force is a diverse group of Fillmore and Piru residents, community members, affordable housing developers, and housing experts, including youth representatives. And I'd like to say right here, I could not be more proud of the One Step kids who got up here and spoke to you. This is what we teach at the One Step Center, how to advocate for the town that you want. It's a well-planned and will enhance the city by providing 50 units of desperately needed, safe, affordable, and healthy homes in a beautifully designed complex. Future residents will benefit from an on-site amenities such as supportive services, facilities for children's play, and resident gatherings. The Housing Task Force, People's Self-Help Housing, is widely acclaimed for excellent management of the many affordable communities it has established. We also understand that the project is composed of 50 units and there will be designated supportive housing units. Demand for this housing is evident by the current wait list of 1,758 people for many mansions. For Mountain View, I'm sorry. And they're growing at this project. It's located down the street from the proposed project, which serves the same populations. Many families currently live, this will probably fall down, okay, live in substandard housing. Excuse me. Having conditions and this demand demonstrate the needs for the city to act and approve the much needed project forward. Please approve this project and move it from concept to reality. We are confident it will provide a new asset for our community, which we can all be proud of. You've all seen me up here before, or some of you have. I advocated for Central Station. I've been up here talking about affordable housing before, usually farm worker housing. And I just would like to point out that that beautiful view behind you is built on the backs of those farm workers and the farmers who employ them. Thank you.
Thank you. Loretta Cabudale? Close enough?
Good shot. My name is Loretta Cabudale, and I moved to Fillmore about 5 years ago from Simi Valley, and I love this community. I want to thank all of you for taking the opportunity to serve this city. I was a business owner for 27 years in both Simi Valley and Moore Park, and hope to maybe one day even open another business here in Fillmore. I just want to, one of the things that I found frustrating as a business owner and resident was that our city council would often take stances with organizations that were outside of the scope of your responsibility. So I just want to show my appreciation for the consideration you make on all requests that the city brings to you, and encourage you to just really stay within the scope of the responsibility that the city has. So thank you guys.
Thank you. Simone Alex. Were you expecting?
Trying to go to the bathroom. I have something. So, good evening, Mayor and council members. I think you know my name is Simone Alex.
I wrote something tonight, but I think I'd rather go off the cuff. My husband and I moved here to get away from the growing crime in Los Angeles, the growing homeless problem, and everything that come with it. I would not even walk, it got so bad I would not even walk my dogs because I was afraid of what was going to happen. And here we find a problem in Fillmore, which is a growing problem, which has been addressed to council over the course of the last year repeatedly regarding the homeless. We had the opportunity to pass an ordinance, the last council. It was moved, it was taken off the agenda. It was moved to an undisclosed date. And I want to speak on behalf of all the residents who have spoken to council and let you know that it looks to the residents of Fillmore that the can is getting kicked down the road, that this is not being dealt with. And I want to just make a few points that on the agenda tonight are 2 agenda items to raise the levies, assessments, taxes for the residents of Fillmore. I also want you to know that the people who have uprooted and chosen to move to Fillmore in the Bridges Heritage Grove section now pay $12,000 a year in Melrose taxes to the county and city because we want to. We love this city. We decide to move here, and we expect that when we speak, the city is going to do something about some issues. When I walk along the beautiful path along the river in the wildlife sanctuary, I see signs that say posted, private property, hunting, fishing, trespassing, and then there's graffiti over the next thing, so I can't read it, is strictly forbidden. Violators will be prosecuted. We don't hear of violators being prosecuted, yet there are violators in the riverbed. And I'm not up here tonight, not that I don't have a heart. I have done outreach to the homeless community, even in Skid Row. I love the homeless community. I've said I've loved several communities in the past. It doesn't mean that we don't have rules regarding these communities. The other thing that I want to mention is that I have several photos here. These are aerial photos of what's happening in the riverbed, and it is up to debate whether these are structures or not. But regarding the permits and all the going after the citizens at Estrella Market for their tinted windows and the people building walls that aren't up to standard, or they are up to standard and you go back, all of these nitpicky things that the city is doing, you are basically giving a free pass to people who aren't following the law. Yet the city is penalizing people who are law-abiding taxpayer citizens. And what I'm calling the city to task is that you would do the right thing.
What's your name?
My name is Dawn Maroney. I give that, just want to have my time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All I'm doing up here is calling the city to make some decisions and have a backbone. The very least that you can do is pass this ordinance, put it on the agenda, as Councilmember Garola very rightly suggested to you 2 weeks ago, is that you would do something and not kick the can down the road. Thank you. I ask that you bring it back on the agenda.
Please. Randy Hollis.
Oops, sorry. Anyways, Brandy Hollis. I just wanted to, pick up on the trash thing. Thank you guys. I heard that you guys did put a dumpster down near the homeless encampment so they could put trash up, but I was informed and that you guys are aware that citizens from the housing tract have been dumping their trash there and in the riverbed, and that you guys were aware of it. Also, I emailed you guys regarding including along with the bike path cleanup to do a cleanup along the riverbed. If we could do that, I know personally that people would be more than happy to bring their trash up. A dealer from Bundan Chevrolet actually said maybe they could get a truck and be able to take some of that trash out for us. I think it's a great idea. I know I brought it up at Rotary. I brought it up to Lions Club. I brought it up at Women's Service Club. I'm not a member of Rotary, let me just say that right now, but I did bring it up, and I brought it up to people's attention. Also, I want to talk about harm reduction. I know I feel like it was like 6 months ago, I met with the former police chief and I was like, fentanyl, and they're like, no, it's not a problem in Fillmore, now it's a huge problem. Well, I want to bring up xylazine, which is used to cut fentanyl with. Suboxone and Narcan do not work. So if somebody's overdosing, they die. It's a serious thing. We have to do some harm reduction. It's coming. It is already hit Ventura County. So we're not talking about LA County, we're talking about Ventura County. And you cannot come down off of this. It's dangerous. That means it is going to be on marijuana. So your kid smokes marijuana, they have a chance of overdosing and nobody can revive them. And you guys all better be aware it's happening right now and it's going to come to Fillmore. It's already in Ojai. I know of a case of somebody with it right now. And it also produces lesions. So with that said, I invite you guys to a mental health exhibit this last weekend and premiere. When I was there, I was blessed to make a nationwide contact with a 501c3 who has affiliates that they have a nonprofit where what they do is literally go community to community to community and to see what's working, what's not working as far as the 501c3 nonprofit status, and see if they can actually get something together that they can duplicate from city to city to city that actually works versus what all the different communities are doing, because a lot of things we're doing is not working, and I know it's constantly changing, and we have to evolve faster. Fillmore has to be on it. We're moving at too slow of a pace. With that said, I'm going to meet with that person this week. I'm sure you guys will get an email about it, but stand up, show up to something I invite you to once in a while. You might make these great contacts like I'm doing every single day. I know it's not your job. It's going to be my job. That's fine. I'm doing it, but once again, there's people that are working to duplicate programs that actually work, and I hope you guys are receptive to it and work on harm reduction and at least gain the Narcan out there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Next speaker is Tim Holmgren.
Hi, good evening, Council. Fillmore. My name is Tim Holmgren. I'm a resident of Fillmore. I'm here. I was at the last council meeting to express appreciation to the council for action that it's taking. Tonight, I'm back to express appreciation for action that's not being taken. I want to thank the mayor for refraining from signing a Pride Month proclamation. The community stands with you. We appreciate you. We encourage you to stand firm in your conviction and your commitment. Now, at the last meeting, there were a few people who stood up to ask the mayor to sign this proclamation, and I want to say a few words that are prompted by what they said. There were some statistics that were shared about LGBT mental health, mental illness, and the suicide rate when gender choices aren't affirmed. But as though these statistics had a bearing on the need for a proclamation. But what these statistics did not cover is how drastically the numbers increase when young children are started on the road to transition. The rate of suicide goes up something like 95 times. Also in those comments, they seem to equate being accepted with having a proclamation. It's insulting to every member of the community to be told that we don't love or accept someone unless we support a proclamation. And finally, council was then invited to attend the resource fair next month. Last year, the same invitation was extended. There was a council member that did attend that Pride Fair, the resource fair, and then that council member was personally attacked by another council member on their social media page. I'm looking at that post right now. And then the marching orders went out from there. The original post with the second council member's comment was posted on the One Step site, and the council member was skewered online. So this may happen to you, be warned. Make no mistake, we're dealing with bullies, and it's time to stop letting the bullies win. The era of the bully is over.
Thank you. Next speaker is Sheree. I can't read the first name.
Trey.
Trey, okay.
Pretty close.
It
Troy
doesn't
Trey.
look like there's any A in it.
It's a semi-A. I wrote down a few words, so just give me a second. Good evening, Council. My name is Troy Schrey. I live over in 235 Rose Street. I wanted to speak a little on the open drug scene we have occurring in our neighborhood, otherwise known as the homeless encampment in the riverbed. Thank you for addressing it with the no camping ordinance that hopefully you vote on real soon. I was hoping it would have been on this week's agenda. I and my family are not dealing with it directly due to the fact we are east of the 23. But a few weeks ago, my wife was on a walk along the river when a strange-looking man walking towards her asked if she would like to get high with him. I am pretty familiar with the drug culture growing up in the San Fernando Valley in the 70s and the 90s, and doing most of whatever came in my way. I have watched LA and the Valley deteriorate into a cesspool. That's why we moved out here. I know how addicts think. I used to be one, although functioning myself, I have been around them most of my life. But not now. My Lord and Savior pulled me out of the mire and cleansed me. But I can still see, if not even clearer now, if this issue goes unresolved, it will be a powder keg going off. The minute I saw structures in the riverbed, I knew trouble was creeping in. When my son and I, a few months ago, were entering the smoke shop next to Vaughn's, and a couple of guys hanging outside looking like they were up to no good asked me, "What's up?" The street in me says, these guys are slinging, which is slang for dealing. Now, I could be wrong, but I would bet my bottom dollar I'm not. Now, all that being said points to this. You all have these new homes being built and selling for close to $1 million apiece. That is a lot of revenue for the city and the county. But if this problem isn't addressed and allowed to continue, these houses won't sell and people like me will end up leaving, which is really sad for me to even say. I am happy here. My wife is happy here. I ask you to forgive me if any of this sounds coarse or harsh. I have always been a little rough around the edges. I do feel compassion for these people, but we all have had trauma in our lives. But allowing lawlessness to continue with no consequences is actually acting without love. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Next speaker is Tracy Stewart.
Good evening, council members. Thank you. I'm here again to speak about the rail car storage that is just outside of town. I wanted to make you and the citizens of Fillmore aware that I have started a petition online at change.org. It is entitled "Move the Rail Cars from the Sespe Creek Area of Fillmore." It reads, in January of 2023, the railroad bridge was damaged due to the storms and became unusable. Since then, Sierra Northern Railway has decided to turn our neighborhood into a storage area for rail cars. SNR and the Ventura County Transportation Commission continue to profit daily from said rail car storage at our expense. We, the undersigned citizens of the Sespe Creek area, Fillmore, Ventura County, California, call on Supervisor Kelly Long and the Ventura County Transportation Commission to amend the Santa Paula Branch Line Railroad lease and operations agreement between VCTC and Sierra Northern Railway. Amendment of Section 2B shall no longer allow the storage of rail cars in residential and agricultural areas, specifically the area known as the Sespe Creek area. We, the undersigned, further call on VCTC to require SNR to remove the stored rail cars from residential and agricultural areas of the Sespe Creek effective immediately. The local farmers and residents of the Sespe Creek area, County of Ventura, have been impacted by the recent storage of rail cars brought by Sierra Northern Railway. Said impacts are localized graffiti on both private and county property, gang turf wars, and an overall deterioration of the natural landscape and devaluation of our neighborhood. These rail cars and elements they bring to our neighborhood are not welcome. Move the rail cars. So I just encourage everyone and spread the word, get the word out there. We have close to 500 signatures, and I will be taking the signatures to the Ventura County Transportation Commission meeting next Friday, June 2nd. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker is Mary Bennett.
Good evening, Council. First of all, I want to thank you for taking the homeless ordinance off the agenda temporarily to further study it, and I hope to further expand upon it. So I thank you for that. I think it was a wise decision. Also, the other thing I really wanted to talk about was about our city being asked to endorse and declare a Pride Month. And I ask, is that the city's place? We have a large church in town, or I should say there is a large church in town that has what I would call a bazaar once a year around December. They are not asking the city to declare December Bazaar Month for them. What you do for one group, you should do for all. The majority of Fillmore citizens are not in favor of our city declaring June as Pride Month and endorsing it with the city logo on signs and so forth. I thank you for your decision last year, and I encourage you to do the same again. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Zachary Lotshaw.
Sign a Pride Month proclamation. Mayor, I will run out the clock. June 1st, sign it. Stop the debating over the lives of queer people. They are your brothers, your sisters, your fathers, your mothers, and you're looking at one. You looked at one a year ago, and the mayor who sat right there looked me, I looked her in the eye, and yes, I called her a bigot. Because at that time she was. And the person sitting to the left of her was also a bigot at the time. And I also believe that there is still a little bit of bigotness left in all of us. That we need to realize and read what Pride Month truly is about. It's about being proud of who you are, no matter what color, race, sexuality, gender, whether you have hair or not. You can see I shaved all the hair off of my head. Yes, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. But June is Pride Month for a reason. Harvey Milk, Supervisor Harvey Milk was assassinated because he was gay. And you're going to tell me that Fillmore isn't proud of me? Of the youth who were just here tonight? Of One Step Alaves? You're going to tell me that? Don't tell me that again. All I brought with me was my family's Bible. And I showed it to the man over there who preaches in his church, Sespe Creek Bible Church, hate. Claims that it's from love, but it's not. I will be back here in June, and I hope to see that proclamation. Thank you.
Okay, seeing there's no more public comments, we're going to move on to item number 7, City Council reports, recommendations, and comments. Chris, do you have anything?
I don't at this time.
Okay. Christina?
I do, Mayor. Thank you. For comments, recommendations, just regarding the housing element, I know that we did receive it back and we have state comments, and I was wondering if staff could speak to where that may be, if we could put that on a future agenda item, just to see the timeline for bringing, I guess, the revised housing element back on to our agenda. Dave, do you know that, or Kevin, do you have a plan for bringing that forward?
Since this isn't on our agenda, we shouldn't really get into it. Can Kevin send information to the council?
What was that? I'm sorry?
Can Kevin send information to the council later tonight or tomorrow?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
I would love to have that. Thank you. Okay.
So, Christina, you're proposing that be an agenda item on a future agenda?
I would. I guess if we're going to do a recommendation process, then I would like to recommend that we bring it back up and see where we are on the getting it officially approved through us. I think it needs to be brought back again.
Can we generalize it more in a greater perspective and just talk about housing on that future agenda item?
Okay, I'm going to go with that recommendation to bring back housing, the element and future housing, just give an update on housing of that. Okay, that's my recommendation.
I'm good with it too.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you, council members.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, seeing none, I'd like to move to item number 8, consent calendar. Can I entertain a motion?
I'd like to request an amendment to the minutes from 9 May.
Okay.
In the public comments, when people got up to speak about an item that was removed, I believe it was incorrectly mischaracterized as a homeless ordinance, and it should just be characterized by the title of the item that was removed.
Okay. Everybody okay with that?
Yes, I'm good with that correction.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Okay, so moved on the adoption of the consent calendar with that change.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
Georgie, can you take a roll call, please?
Councilmember Garola?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Villaseñor?
Yes.
Mayor Austin?
Yes.
Councilmember Brogy?
Yes.
Councilmember Mendez?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 9A, new business. Adoption of Resolution 233940, approving the fiscal year 23-24 annual budget for the City of Fillmore, and adoption of Resolution number 233941, making adjustments to the city staffing by adding a senior management analyst position, adding an accountant position, and reclassifying an existing position to deputy city clerk.
Staff is presenting the fiscal year 2023-24 preliminary budget this evening for review and action by the City Council. Economic issues at the national and state levels during fiscal year 22-23 impacted the budget. Mortgage rate increases slowed land development activity. Additionally, inflation increased the city's cost of goods and services. Notwithstanding these negative financial issues, the fiscal year 22-23 year-end estimate projects a surplus of $616,287 in the general fund. Additionally, the fiscal year 23-24 general fund budget is balanced with projected revenues exceeding projected expenditures by $265,433. Fiscal year 22-23 year-end general fund revenues are estimated at $9.7 million. This amount is $143,000 or 1.46% less than the budgeted amount. The 23-24 revenue budget is $10.1 million, a projected increase of $388,000 or 4%. The largest source of revenue continues to be taxes, which comprise 63.6%
100% of the proposed revenue budget. 23-24 tax receipts are projected to exceed the 22-23 year-end best estimate by $215,273. The fees and charges category budget projects a $117,409 reduction from the 22-23 year-end estimate. This is due to one-time receipts in 22-23 of a workers' compensation refund, restitution to the city for damage to property, and the city's share of proceeds from the recent sale of the town theater, formerly owned by the city's successor redevelopment agency. This is a breakdown of expenditures by department and transfers to other funds. The 22-23 year-end estimate is projected at $9.1 million. The 23-24 projected budget is $9.8 million, an 8.1% of increase. Much of the increase is attributable to salary step increases for eligible employees, a 3% cost of living adjustment, and proposed new positions. Police Department annual expenditures in recent years have been below the budget. The proposed police budget represents a 1.3% increase over the 22-23 budget. The Planning Department increase results from carrying over unexpected contract services for an update to the general plan housing element and a proposed general plan amendment. The increase in city administration results from salary and benefits for one new position and one position reclassification, a proposal to review city-wide fees, and increased online training for staff. The sewer operating fund budget proposed for 23-24 was prepared earlier and projects that revenue will increase expenditures at year-end by $286,206. This number does not take into account the financial impact of a recent major sewer line failure that will be discussed later in the meeting. The proposed 23-24 water operating fund budget projects that revenue will exceed expenditures at year-end by $204,075. It is recommended that the City Council adopt Resolution Number 23-3940, approving the City of Fillmore 23-24 annual budget, excluding the budgets for the landscape and lighting districts and storm drain districts that were approved, that will be considered later in the meeting. It is also recommended that the City Council adopt Resolution Number 23-3941, approving proposed new senior management analyst and accountant positions and reclassifying the human resources assistant position to deputy city clerk. This concludes my presentation, and I'm available to answer questions.
Chris, do you have any questions?
Yes, I was just wondering for the items that will be discussed later in this meeting, if those are affected, will the entire budget need to be represented?
No, once the budget is adopted, any changes, even later in this meeting, will be considered a budget amendment and will be incorporated into the final version of the budget that's published.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Frank?
No questions, Mayor, but just a comment. Just thank you, Frank, for putting the staff report together. Thank you for the breakdown so that the public who's looking at this document can see, where each of these expenditures and revenues and what the reason is for them going up and down. So I appreciate the work on it and the clarity.
Thank you.
And I just want to thank Mayor, who and I were an ad hoc together, and really we feel like the city's in a good position with the budget.
Yeah, and I have shared this with the meeting that we were in previously, the two of us, along with the city manager, that I'm just impressed with the numbers, the way the budget is now compared to where it was in 2014 when I was first on council. So it's encouraging to me to see the slow, steady progress that the city of Fillmore has made with regard to budget and financing. I did have one question with regard to the staff that's bringing on board, the new hires, new positions that are being created. And bear with me just a moment here, and I just lost it. So with regard to the reclass of the human resources assistant, and I'm hoping you can answer this question. First, before that, I'm wondering if down the road we should start looking at having an HR staff person, someone who does strictly HR. I think staff is getting to be the size where it might be beneficial, just food for thought down the road, and that would go more to a statement for our city manager. But along those lines, the reclass of the human resources assistant to a deputy city clerk office manager, it says that it's not going to have an impact on the there's no additional cost because the position already exists, it's just being reclassed. But my question is that position going to be taking on additional responsibilities and duties? And if so, where's the compensation coming for that?
I'm going to defer to the Assistant City Manager to answer that question. She prepared all of the human resources actions.
Great.
So the responsibilities will change. Job description was attached to the staff report. Funding is the same, so it was already budgeted. So we're not changing the salary. Some of the things that the position will be undertaking will be taking care of the council packets, agendas. Right now, it's being split between my time and then a little bit of the time of the executive assistant, Georgie. And we'll have that person also manage the front desk.
Okay.
So when visitors come, they can check in and help Dave also with appointments and any other clerical. There's a lot of filing that comes with the city clerk's role. And so every year we end up hiring a temp to help us file. And so by us reclassifying this position, they will help us with all the filing, not just for the clerk, but from other departments as well. We're trying to digitalize a lot of our documents, and so I think it'll help us operate more efficiently.
Okay, so overall, you don't see it as becoming a job that holds more responsibility and a...
Not for the deputy city clerk, if that's the one that you are referencing to.
Just shifting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, just shifting the different tasks, daily tasks.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Albert, any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I just want to thank the ad hoc committee and Frank for your hard work on this, and thank you for taking the time to sit down with me and answer the questions that I did have.
You're welcome.
And happy retirement, Frank.
Thank you.
This is your last one, huh?
This is my last meeting, yes. I'm off the payroll after Friday.
Well, thank you for all your service to the city.
You're very
welcome. Really
welcome.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay,
Oh,
I'd like to entertain a motion.
let's see. I'm looking at Carrie. Carrie, want me to do that? Okay. All right. I will. I'm going to make a motion that we adopt the attached resolution number 23-3940, approving the City of Fillmore's fiscal year 23-24 annual budget, excluding the landscape and lighting district budgets and the storm drain assessment district budget. And that we also adopt the attached resolution numbers excuse me, number 23-3941, approving the new city manager department senior management analyst and new accountant classifications, reclassifying of the human resources assistant to deputy city clerk / office manager, and adopting included job descriptions for these positions.
Boy, that was a mouthful.
It was a lot.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion. I have a second. Georgie, can you take a roll call, please?
Councilmember Garola,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Villaseñor,
Yes.
Mayor Austin,
Yes.
Councilmember Brogy,
Yes.
Councilmember Mendez.
Yes.
Okay, we're moving on to item 9B. Public hearings to consider the adoption of resolutions approving the engineer annual levy report for fiscal year 2023-2024, and ordering the annual levy and collection of assessments for fiscal year 2023 to 2024 within the City of Fillmore Landscape and Lighting District Number 2 and Heritage Valley Landscape and Lighting District 2007-1, respectively. At this point, I'm going to open the public hearing.
Mayor, I need to recuse myself for these next two items.
Okay. What, you guys are just individually?
Right. We're going to stay. Right.
Okay. Okay.
Mayor, would you like a presentation from staff before you?
I'm just going to open the public hearing just so I didn't forget.
Okay.
I just figured I'd do it all in one swipe and boom. We're still in, you know.
Okay, well, I'll go forward then. The report before you represents a second and final action required to approve fiscal year 23-24 levies to property owners for maintenance of public improvements that serve their tracts. On April 11th, 2023, the City Council adopted resolutions announcing its intent to levy assessments and set this evening as a date and time to conduct a public hearing offering landowners the opportunity to comment on the recommended assessments. The city has 2 landscape assessment districts. Landscape and Lighting District 2 contains 25 active assessment zones. 10 are recommended for a decrease in the annual assessment as compared to the current fiscal year. The remaining 15 are recommended for the maximum allowed assessment, of which 4 are projected to be in a deficit condition at the end of fiscal year 23-24 if all budgeted funds are expended. In order to avoid the expense of seeking an increase of the maximum assessment by way of a Proposition 218 hearing process and subsequent vote, which tends to be costly and is seldom successful, an alternative would be to consider a reduction in the levels of water usage, landscape maintenance, and tree maintenance in the 4 zones during the forthcoming fiscal year with the goal of eliminating the projected deficits. Another alternative would be to allocate general fund monies to the 4 zones at the end of the fiscal year to cover the deficit and then reduce the cost of maintenance in future years. Landscape and Lighting District 2007-01, located south of Highway 26, contains 2 zones, one of which is active. A significant reduction in the annual assessment for fiscal year 2023 is proposed for the active zone in consideration of the large fund balance that has built up over the past several years. At this time, I would like to introduce Michelle Lasse, representing Wildine Financial Services, that assists the city in developing annual assessments. This concludes my presentation, and Michelle and I are available to answer questions.
Any questions for Frank? Anybody like to speak on this item? Okay. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Entertain a motion then. One of you two go.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. So I'd like to entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll make that motion that the council, I just want to make sure, I'm just reading all of them, Tiffany. Okay. All right. Okay, great. Okay, so I make a motion that the City Council adopt resolution number 23-3936, resolution 23-3937, resolution number 23-3938, resolution number 23-3939, and authorized to incorporate the revenue and expenditures contained in the annual budgets for Landscape and Lighting District 2 and Landscape and Lighting District 2007-01 into the City of Fillmore annual budget. And I say this recusing myself from the resolution number 23-3938 for myself, and that being Landscape and Lighting District number 2, Riverwalk Track 5099.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Awesome.
I have a motion, I have a second. Roll call, yeah, for each one. Okay, Georgie, can you do a roll call for each resolution? No. Okay, but she needs to read, okay, from which one? Okay, can you take a roll call?
Councilmember Garola,
Yes, and I will recuse myself from the resolutions which cover Landscape and Lighting District 2007-1, Zone 1.
Mayor Pro Tem Villaseñor,
Yes, with myself excluded from Landscape and Lighting District Number 2, River Rock Tract 5099.
Mayor Austin,
Yes.
Councilmember Brogy,
Yes, although I'm abstaining from 2007-01.
Councilmember Mendez,
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to item number 9C, public hearing to consider the adoption of resolution. You're going to stay there, huh, Frank?
Yeah.
Adoption of resolution 233934, confirming the annual budget and ordering for annual levy and collection of assessments for the Fillmore Stormwater Maintenance District for fiscal year 23-24. At this point, I'd like to open the public hearing.
Okay, similar to the Landscape and Lighting District assessments, the city on April 11th adopted a resolution announcing its intent to levy assessments and set this evening as a time and date for a public hearing. The city has 9 storm drain assessment districts. 3 are recommended for an increase up to the maximum levy, which is a 5.77% increase in accordance with the change in the Consumer Price Index. One district that is recommended for increase is projected to be in a deficit condition at the end of fiscal year 2024 if all budgeted funds are expended. And once again, a Proposition 218 hearing is not being recommended at this time due to, first of all, the difficulty of obtaining approval, and secondly, because there are other options such as considering a reduction in the level of maintenance and operational costs to serve the properties within the district. Another alternative in this case also would be to allocate general fund monies at the end of the next fiscal year to cover the deficit and then reduce the cost of servicing the facilities in future years. The remaining 6 districts are recommended for no change in the assessment levy per equivalent billing unit in the forthcoming fiscal year. This concludes my presentation, and once again, Michelle and I are available to answer questions.
Chris, do you have any questions?
More of a comment, just that the new Public Works Director has been very responsive to the community, and I want just to assure everyone that any taxes levied are in good hands, and I'm impressed with what he's done to get our public facilities up to speed, but also to project the needs of our public facilities to make sure that they don't crumble.
Okay. Any questions, Christina?
No questions, but thank you for your recommendation about on that particular, I think it's district number 3, what our alternatives are, and I'm sure as a city that we will pick an alternative to ensure that, that this particular district is not, left by the wayside. Thank you.
Okay, Gary? Albert? Okay.
I don't have a question, but I just want to thank Councilmember Garola for making that statement. I totally agree.
Okay, at this point, I'm going to close the public hearing and entertain a motion.
Okay, I will go ahead and make a motion to approve, to adopt Resolution 233934 under assessment district numbers 01, 01A, 03, 04, 05, 06, and I'm going to abstain from 07.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion. I have a second. Georgie, will you take a roll call, please?
Councilmember Garola,
Yes, and I'll recuse myself from Storm's Water Drain District number 7, Zone C.
Mayor Pro Tem Villaseñor,
Yes, and I will recuse myself from storm drain district number 4, Riverwalk.
Mayor Austin,
Yes.
Councilmember Brogy,
Yes.
Councilmember Mendez.
Yes.
And that wraps it up, huh, Frank? Okay, we're going to move on to 9D, Award of Contracts, City Engineering Services.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, residents of Fillmore. Tonight I'm here to request approval for a contract for engineering services with Wilden. The contract amount is for $1,870,000. That is for a term of 3 years. The amount for this current fiscal year was actually budgeted for in the budget that you approved, two or three items previous to this one. We did go out for a request for proposal. This document was made publicly on February 27th. We released a proposal using our bid management platform, which is called Planet Bids. It's an electronic bidding platform that the city utilizes. The city received 9 proposals. Staff met, reviewed those proposals, and proceeded with interviews. There were 2 qualified firms that made it to the interview round, and so we met with M6, which was one of the firms that had bid for the contract. We also met with Wilden staff. After carefully reviewing the proposals and also going through the different items that we had selected as criteria for the interview, the staff felt very firm that we should continue with Wilden Services. They do have a lot of staffing that provide us continuous services. Engineering field is very large, and for the type of services that we need, they have every single service that the city needs, just a way of like a phone call or an email. And so we will be having coverage, continuing coverage at City Hall 4 days a week, Monday through Friday. Roxanne Hughes will continue to be our city engineer on file, and we have 2 deputy city engineers, Mark Wild, who is primarily working on land development, and Joe Baloma will continue with the water and all the different reportings that are due to the state and any other project that may be coming down from the pipeline as well, from either Dave's direction or mine. That concludes my presentation, if you have any questions.
Chris, do you have any questions?
No, at this time.
Okay. Christina? Karen?
Just a comment, and that's that in all the years of working with the city, I think Wilden's done a great job servicing the city. I do wonder how, in the bio, it says that our own, where were the bios at? That Roxanne has been doing this for 26 years, which means she started like when she was 11. So besides that, I think they've done a great job, and I'm happy that we're revisiting this and renewing a contract. I'm all for it.
Albert? No. Okay, we have one public speaker, Simone Alex.
So I just want to ask a few questions, just rhetorical questions regarding Wildan. I know that we had a sewer break, which was pretty major, and I am just wondering if Wildan was overseeing that. If you have any reason, do you have a cause for the sewer break? Does Wildan know what caused the sewer break? And if not, if you don't have any answers regarding that, especially since we have been talking about, extending the public emergency with the sewer, I think that you should really have a think about that. It's very important when something major like that happens and you have a company overseeing it, that you might not want to move forward with the company until those you get answers to those questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion.
Okay, Mayor, I make the motion that the City Council award a 3-year contract with an optional 3-year extension in the not-to-exceed amount of $1,870,000, approximately $630,000 annual cost, to Wildan Engineering Incorporated for city engineering services.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a motion. I have a second. George, you can do a roll call, please.
Councilmember Garola,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Villaseñor,
Yes.
Mayor Austin,
Yes.
Councilmember Broggie,
Yes.
Councilmember Mendez.
Yes.
Okay, we're moving on to item 9E, extension of the City of Fillmore local emergency declaration resulting from a sewer line collapse. Adoption of plans and specifications for project specification number 2301E, ratification of a contract amendment to Toro Enterprises for sewer repair work and appropriation of funding.
Thank you. This will be a two-part. The first one will be real quick for myself. I'll be asking to extend the local emergency that was proclaimed on March 15th for the collapsed sewer manhole, which rendered the downstream pipeline unusable. And I'll have Troy talk about the project and where we're at right now. Thank you.
Thank you. First, before we get into the discussion, thank you all for your kind words. Wanted to make an announcement. This is actual National Public Works Appreciation Week, so I wanted to appreciate my staff and the amazing job that they do. So, item 9E. So the extension of the local declaration for emergency, as well as the approval of the plans and specifications. This is a multi-part recommendation, so we'll go through it piece by piece. So the project is, there's a collapse at C Street and 126. The sewer manhole did give way. Since then, we set up temporary sewer bypasses at 4 different locations. So we've been bypassing at the Shell station, at the up on C Street. We've been bypassing across from Bunnan. We've been bypassing at Los Serenos, and then just east of Los Serenos on Highway 126. There's been temporary traffic control set up, and that's been running for 2 months. So far, that's all been preliminary phase, and we've had to stabilize the area. The contract for Toro, we're asking for ratification. The contract that did get signed, we had Toro out there doing some exploratory work yesterday. They did end up finding that there is still a void in the street between the 2 manholes, between the manhole that collapsed and the other manhole that did not collapse. So it is a very good thing that we did not have vehicles running over that segment. So we'll talk about phase 1 and phase 2 separately. The preliminary phase, this is kind of the chicken scratch of my mind as I worked through this with our city engineer, Roxanne, on a Saturday in March. We were trying to identify where we could set up the blocks and the sewer bypasses to avert and minimize as much impact to the public as we could. So phase 1 is basically replacing the line, the entire line that goes from the Highway 126, which is on the right side of the screen where the yellow boxes are, and going down to River Street. It's currently an 18-inch line. It will be upsized to a 24-inch line, which has been identified in our sewer master plan. The 2 yellow boxes I've highlighted there, I wanted to draw your attention. One is the jacking pit and one is the receiving pit. And what that means is we're going to directional drill an encasement underneath the highway, under 126, so we don't have to trench but there will be excavations there, and those excavations then will be backfilled and buttoned up and repaved. But the jacking pit is the area that we're going to be sending the encasement from. The receiving pit is where it's going to be received on the other end. Along the way, we're going to maintain sewage flow for the church and for the stop, the commercial plaza there. We met with the contractor today to go through the logistics of how that's all going to work out. So far, projected cost excluding Phase 2. So we have the preliminary phase contracted to date. We have $600,000 contracted to date, but we've received invoices so far of about $1 million. And we're anticipating the needs to continue pumping the bypass pumps through the construction, which we're anticipated need the additional money there. Phase 1, we got construction contract, from the bidding process, and of that $3.5 million, $2 million of it is simply the dewatering aspect of it. So if this had collapsed in any other situation, we wouldn't be paying that $2 million. The reason it did collapse was because of the high groundwater, because of the rainstorms, because of the infiltration into the system. So, the cost of the repair would be significantly less than half of what it's going to end up costing us to do the repair because of the groundwater. Because of that, we're looking at grant funds from emergency funding and whatnot. But right now, this is what we have, and we're presenting these numbers. Phase 2, just for future thought. Phase 2 is not optional. Phase 2 does need to move forward. The red dashed line on the screen is not really a viable sewer any longer. The manholes along that stretch are also in danger of collapsing, and the pipe has been impacted. It's a very flat sewer. It's not able to flow into the upstream to the direction where it was at C Street, and it's a lot less expensive for us to cross the highway and go down D Street to where it ultimately wants to get to at the sewer plant. Any questions on the project scope?
Chris, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to maybe just get a brief introduction of the status of emergency funds, what that process looks like, maybe an estimated timeline of the feasible amount that we would receive from any emergency funds.
Well, it's a good question. I don't know if there's an answer for feasible amount. The maximum amount that I think that we can receive is 75% of the cost, which means there's a 25% match no matter what we end up accomplishing. I think we do have good advocates at the county, at the Cal OES. They've already sent letters of support to the state and to actually the federal government. So we have good shepherds on our side to push this forward. I don't know if I could mention that there's a feasibility, but the maximum amount we could potentially get from the avenues that we're looking at is 75% of the cost.
Okay, and if that were achieved, that 75% or any amount, would those be reallocated back into the funds they were pulled from?
Yes.
Okay.
Christina?
Yeah, I do. Thank you, Troy. Thank you for your presentation and for the diagrams. On that last one where you said that the line that goes right horizontally or east-west, you said that's not feasible. Those manholes are old. So on phase 2, then, what is there a plan still to access D Street and cross the highway? Maybe I'm just a little bit confused.
Yeah.
Okay, but just not using that. So
no, the plan is to see where the green line is on D Street, That goes north and south? So the green line is the planned reroute of that sewage that comes down. I hesitate to use the word redundant because it's not like extra, right? But the sewage needs to get from that area of where El Pescador is and that neighborhood behind it. It needs to get across to the sewer plant.
Right.
It doesn't make sense that where the sewage is all flowing from east to west in the city and from north to south, that wants to go in the northeast direction. It really was bucking grade.
Okay.
It's not a great setup the way that it was. And to replace roughly 1,200 feet of sewer line in the Caltrans highway and try to get the permits from them and excavate the highway, I mean, you're talking about months of having lanes shut down for replacing that line, and that line is deep. I mean, we know the line is deep at, going down C Street as well. It's like 16 feet deep, which is why we can directionally drill it, because we're underneath most everything else.
Right.
We're more concerned about running into River Rock as we're drilling through that than we are, anything else. But we'll have the same kind of scope of phase two. Directionally drill underneath the highway. We'll have a receiving pit. We'll get underneath, and then we'll run a line in an open trench down D Street. D Street is currently unimproved. The east side of it's not widened. The vacant parcels on either side are future business park. Having a sewer line in D Street is actually part of the overall city plan. We're in doing this, in mitigating, having to not do the replacing the line on 126 and putting this line in, we're saving dollars now, but we're needing to do it, but we could potentially recoup that from reimbursements from future development.
Okay, great. Thank you for explaining that and for helping me understand it. I thought the flow was going a different way, but when you say it's going against what the normal flow is, you just cutting off that red, and then it's just going to flow down from Pescador and cross the highway.
Yeah, and there currently is no connections, no sewer lateral connections on that line. It is simply the last lateral connection is from El Pescador, and it runs all the way to C Street. All of the the connections at I Chihuahua and the Shell station happen in the alley behind.
Okay.
So there's another sewer line that comes out from the alley, and all of those connections happen there.
Okay, thank you, Troy. Appreciate it.
Any other questions?
Troy, I do have one last question.
Okay.
For the current bypasses that you have set up, will those only be removed and not needed after phase 2 completion, or was phase 1 going to be good enough?
So after phase 1 is completed, the bypass at the Shell station won't be needed, the bypass across from Bunnan won't be needed, and the bypass at Los Serenos won't be needed. We're already trying to see if we can permanently remove the bypass at Los Serenos, but we do get surges that, Veolia, to answer the question earlier, Veolia has been in charge of maintaining the sewer lines, and they don't feel comfortable with not having a backup pump at that location because of the surges that we've been having. So as of right now, we still have the bypass pumps on standby while we're doing the paving project, but we're kind of doing a test to see if we can keep it out.
Okay, and when is the work expected to start? Should we ratify this contract?
Exploratory work already started today. Actually started yesterday. They were doing some potholing and whatnot. We do not have the Caltrans permit for them to do the work under the highway. And Caltrans is looking at getting a traffic management plan because the traffic detour plan is going to close both of the westbound lanes and redirect them at least one lane into the center lane. So there will be an adjustment to to the traffic. But we're pushing on Caltrans, but the work that is down C Street should begin shortly.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I'd like to entertain a motion then?
Okay, I'll make a motion that the City Council adopt Resolution Number 23-3943 to extend the declaration of the local emergency based on the March 15th collapse of the sewer manhole. Also adopt the plans and specifications for project specification number 23-013, the C Street Emergency Sewer Repair Project. Appropriate $1.1 million from our sewer operating fund, $1.5 million from the sewer replacement fund, and $1.35 million from the sewer development impact fee fund for the C Street Emergency Sewer Repair Project, and ratify the award of the Public Works construction contract to Toro Enterprises for the construction of project specification number 23-01E in the amount not to exceed $3,575,033.50, and authorize an amendment to the agreement to appropriate contingency amount of $350,000 for unexpected changes if needed due to field conditions.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Georgie, can you take a roll call?
Councilmember Garola,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Villaseñor,
Yes.
Mayor Austin,
Yes.
Councilmember Broggie,
Yes.
Councilmember Mendez.
Yes.
Okay, we're moving on to item number 10, committee, commissions, and board reports. Chris, do you have anything?
No.
Okay. Christina?
I do. I have several things. Let's see here. Tomorrow, I am part of the Southern California Edison Government Advisory Panel, and Edison is conducting a full-scale in-person public safety power shutoff exercise. And so I'll be going down to Irwindale. I'm going to observe the exercise at their Emergency Operations Center, so I'll report back on how that is. Should be very interesting to learn a little more about the power safety shutoff and how that works and how it affects our community. Regarding the Ventura County Regional Energy Alliance, we had our board meeting quarterly last week on the 18th. Javier Salcedo, his contract was renewed for the Green Business Program outreach, and he will continue. I think he's reached out to a few more businesses here in Fillmore. And there was a presentation on, it's called 3C REN. It is the Tri-County Regional Energy Network. Talked a lot about home energy savings, also trainings for building professionals, discounts that can, multifamily, single-family discounts. And so they're really trying to get the word out. So they may come, to our council, at least to our community, and try to let people know about these energy saving discounts. Let's see. The Energy Alliance also sent letters of support to the governor, to the state legislature to continue funding the Green Business Program and to fully restore cuts that are vital to climate and energy programs in California. That was in the governor's January proposed budget. I haven't seen the May revise, so I don't know if those cuts were restored, but there was some cuts to climate and energy programs in California. Let's see here. And I think that's it. One last thing is, just as this is still around energy, there was what do you call it? The stovetop, the electric stovetop that was kind of available at our library for those who might want to try that. Again, this is just thinking about converting from gas to electric. There's also a toolkit available at the libraries, and it has different things to help weatherize your house, energy efficient light bulbs, and these are all kind of freebies. And so if you do check out this toolkit, that's things that you're able to keep. You take it to your home and use it to help, again, with energy, conserving energy. Okay, thank you.
Carrie?
For those of you who are following the Sierra Northern, I know a lot of the community is, just an FYI, at the VCTC meeting coming up, the next one, we should have a date. Our intent is to have something, a public meeting You're welcome to attend the VCTC meeting and speak if you'd like to there during the public comment session, but we will have some type of a public forum available to all residents that are impacted by the Sierra Northern. So.
Howard? Okay. Move on to item number.
Mayor, I do have one more thing, I'm sorry, and this probably should have been in announcements, but it is thank you to all the organizations, for city staff, and to Fillmore Unified School District. We had a health and wellness resource fair on Saturday in front of the Fillmore Unified School District building. It was really well attended. We have over 40 organizations that participated and gave out resources regarding mental health awareness, physical health, and just to lots of just community resources for families and individuals in Fillmore. So I wanted to thank the school district particularly for their partnership in this.
Okay. Moving on to item number 11, city manager's verbal report.
Thank you. A couple items. Just before we do a presentation of the housing element, we are replying to HCD by June 9th. We've talked with them, meeting with our consultant, wrap up their final questions. We'll get them off to them, and then we'll have a presentation at the June 13th meeting, kind of where we're at with that item. Again, I also want to thank City Council for the budget and their guidance over the years. When I first started here, we had $150,000. I think that's maybe a little lower in savings. So the councils over the years and staff working together, and Frank, thank you for all the work you've done for us, especially we've run short in terms of finance. I really appreciate it. Appreciate our friendship, and thank you for all you've done here for the city. Now that we're talking about enforcement in the downtown area, as City Council recall, one of our directions from staff was to go out there and take a look at the downtown specific plan, identify areas that need to be improved that we're not compliant with it. We did not walk out there on the very first day. They get an attorney letter. We worked with them. They probably got about 3 or 4 months of leeway and work with the city before it gets to the point of receiving a letter from our city attorney. Even then, they give an approximately another month to 2 months to come into compliance and or work with staff to come up with a plan. And that's what we have done with the Estella Market. They had a close-up date probably about 30 days ago, but now we've worked with them to try to extend it so they can find a help to find a solution to their current situation. So we're not running out there with pitchforks trying to get people in trouble. We're trying to enforce what's currently been approved out there so that the plan looks good. That's why our downtown looks so nice. That's the way we make sure we enforce the rules and regulations out there. Also, in terms of the red line channel item, Tiffany and I are still doing some discussions. We are looking at implications of what does happen if we go through and implement that. What are going to be the unintended circumstances, the consequences of moving forward? There's a lot of state law out there that once people move certain spots, you can't touch them again. And so you may be creating a bigger problem which you currently have. And so we're taking a look at that to come back with recommendations to City Council in the future. In the meantime, I'd like to call up Sergeant Hollowell and kind of give an update on some of the homeless stuff that we're currently working on, or I can give a brief report.
So we're currently working on the homeless to vulnerable population.
Thank you.
I'm Sergeant Hollowell with the Sheriff's Department. We're currently working on the vulnerable population. We have a deputy that is specifically designated to assist individuals. They reach out to different organizations and they offer help, need, assistance. We recently got a dumpster that we went out. We did fill it up. It left today. We had a lot of cooperation from the individuals down there to clean out some of the areas. We're also working with the city with getting possibly Patriot to come out there and do some of the cleanup areas. And we also have a zero tolerance for any drug activity. We do enforcement. I personally go down there with the deputies. We walk in the river bottom. We wear 2 hats. We offer the help and assistance for the people who want it, and then we match them up with the organizations that are available to do that. And on the flip side, if they have warrants or causing problems, there's a no tolerance, and we enforce the law. We hold them accountable. Do you have any other questions?
Any questions? Okay.
And that's all I have.
Okay. Seeing that, we're going to move on to item number 12, closed session. We'll go into closed session on two items. Conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation. The city council will conduct a closed session because there is a significant exposure to litigation in one case. Our second thing we'll go into closed session for are public employee performance evaluation and compensation. City council will hold a closed session with city attorney to conduct an employee performance evaluation of the city manager and discuss salary, compensation, and fringe benefits provided to the city manager. And with that, we'll go into closed session. Council met in closed session. We did not go over item A, but on item B, there are no reportable action. Adjourn to the next regular scheduled planning commission, city council meeting. What was that? June 13th.
All right, good night.